The Exhilarating had conquered 100 worlds. To them, war was nothing but a game, one they always won. Admiral Chorus stood on the bridge of his massive warship, the Doombringer, staring at the blue-green planet below. Avalon 7, a human colony. Another weak, primitive world that would soon belong to the Dominion. Behind him, his officers stood at attention, their reptilian eyes filled with arrogance. The Exhilarating were the strongest race in the galaxy. No one had ever truly challenged them. "This will be over quickly," Commander Vexus smirked. "Their ships are outdated. Their defenses are laughable." Chorus let out a low chuckle. "Humans think they are warriors, but they are insects. They should have surrendered." The Exhilarating had studied humanity for years. Yes, humans were clever. Yes, they had advanced quickly. But their technology was nothing compared to the Dominion. The Exhilarating had ships that could tear through asteroids, weapons that could destroy moons. This battle was already won. Chorus turned to his weapons officer. "Target their defense stations. Destroy them in one strike." The officer nodded and pressed a few glowing symbols on the control panel. Outside, the Exhilarating fleet moved into position. The Doombringer alone could reduce the human colony to rubble, but Chorus wanted to send a message. They would crush humanity, and the galaxy would watch. The order was given. The Exhilarating's most powerful weapons fired. Brilliant beams of energy streaked through space, aimed directly at Avalon 7's orbital defenses. The impact was instant. Fire and explosions filled the sky. But then, something happened. The fires vanished. The explosions stopped. The human stations remained untouched. Chorus narrowed his eyes. "What?" Commander Vexus leaned forward, scanning the battlefield. "Direct hits confirmed, Admiral. But no damage." That was impossible. Chorus turned to his science officer. "Explain." The officer hesitated, his claws tapping nervously on the console. "It's some kind of shielding, Admiral. But I don't recognize the technology." Chorus growled. "No shielding is that strong." Another officer checked the readings. His eyes widened. "Admiral, their shields didn't even weaken." Silence filled the bridge. The most powerful weapons of the Dominion had done nothing. For the first time, Admiral Chorus felt something strange, something unfamiliar. Doubt. On the main screen, the human fleet began to move. "They are advancing." Vexus muttered in disbelief. They should be running. Yet the humans did not run. Their ships, smaller and sleeker than the Exhilarating warships, moved with purpose. Their formation was tight, disciplined. They weren't panicking. They were hunting. Chorus clenched his jaw. "Increase power to all weapons. Fire again. This time, burn them to dust." The Exhilarating ships fired everything. Plasma cannons, proton missiles, high-energy disruptors, a barrage that had destroyed entire civilizations. The humans didn't dodge. They absorbed the attack. Chorus' blood ran cold. The human flagship, dark and unmarked, finally sent a message across the battlefield. The voice was calm, too calm. "Is that all you've got?" The Exhilarating officers froze. And then, the human fleet struck back. Admiral Chorus stood frozen, his claws gripping the armrests of his command chair. His fleet, the most powerful force in the galaxy, had just fired a full barrage at the human defenses. And it had done nothing. The bridge of the Doombringer was silent. Every officer, every soldier stared at the battlefield in disbelief. The human warships, sleek and dark, hovered in perfect formation. Their shields had absorbed everything. It was impossible. This is a trick," Commander Vexus muttered, his voice unsteady. "No species can withstand that kind of firepower." Admiral Chorus forced himself to speak. "Science officer, report. What are we dealing with?" The Exhilarating scientist's claws trembled over the control panel. "Admiral, I don't know. Their shields are not just absorbing energy. They are redirecting it. Our attacks are fueling their systems. Korra's eyes darkened. His weapons were making them stronger. Before he could react, the human fleet moved. The alien officers watched in stunned silence as the human ships advanced. Fast. Exhilarating warships were massive, designed for intimidation and brute strength. But the humans, their ships were smaller, sleeker, precise, built like hunters. "They're engaging," Vexus whispered. Korra gritted his teeth. "Prepare countermeasures. Target their lead ship and fire everything we have." The Doombringer's cannons roared to life. The exhilarating fleet unleashed hell. Torpedoes screamed through space. Energy beams cut through the void. The combined firepower of an empire bore down upon the human fleet. And then, the human ships vanished. "What?" Vexus shouted. "Where did they?" Before the sensors could react, the human fleet reappeared. Right behind them. The Exhilarating had no time to adjust, no time to turn. The first human ship opened fire. A single shot lanced through the void. A brilliant blue pulse struck a Exhilarating battleship square in the engine core. For a second, nothing happened. Then, the Exhilarating warship collapsed inward, as if something was crushing it from the inside. A deep, horrifying groan echoed through the bridge speakers. The ship's metal hull bent, twisted, shattered. Then, it imploded. A ship 10 times the size of a human vessel was crushed to a speck of dust in seconds. Silence filled the bridge of the Doombringer. One shot had erased an entire warship. Vexus' breathing was shallow. "Admiral, what kind of weapon is that?" Korra's had no answer. Then, another shot. Another Exhilarating ship crumpled like paper. And another. And another. One by one, the mighty Exhilarating warships were reduced to nothingness. The humans weren't just attacking. They were demolishing the Dominion's best fleet with ease. A cold shiver ran down Korra's spine. This wasn't just a counterattack. This was a hunt. And for the first time in his life, Admiral Korra realized they were not the hunters. They were the prey. Panic. It was something Admiral Korra had never felt before. For centuries, the Exhilarating had dominated the galaxy, crushing anyone who stood in their way. But now, their most powerful fleet was being hunted, torn apart with terrifying precision. And the worst part, the humans weren't even trying. Korra gritted his teeth, his claws digging into his command chair. "How are they doing this?" he growled. The Exhilarating officers around him were pale, their confidence shattered. On the main screen, another Exhilarating battleship imploded, its reinforced hull twisting like paper before collapsing into itself. One shot per ship. This wasn't war. This was annihilation. Commander Vex's voice shook. "Admiral, we must retreat." Korra spun toward him, rage flashing in his reptilian eyes. "Retreat. We are the Exhilarating Dominion. We do not run from." Boom. The Doombringer shook violently, alarms blaring across the bridge. Sparks flew from the control panels. The lights flickered. Korra turned back to the screen. His flagship, the most advanced warship in the Dominion, had been hit. Not destroyed. Not yet. But the humans had fired a warning shot. A warning shot. Korra's breathing was heavy. They could have killed him. They could have ended this battle right now. But they hadn't. Why? The human fleet suddenly slowed. They weren't pursuing. They weren't finishing the kill. Then, a communication request appeared on the screen. A direct transmission. From the human flagship. Vexus hesitated. "Admiral, should we accept?" Korra clenched his jaw. He had no choice. Open the channel. The screen flickered, and a human face appeared. Captain Daniel Reynolds. He was calm. Too calm. His uniform was clean, his expression unreadable. He looked nothing like a man leading a one-sided slaughter. "Admiral Korra," Reynolds said, his voice even. "You have a decision to make." Korra growled. You think you've won. Reynolds tilted his head slightly. Haven't we? Chorus had no response. Reynolds continued. You invaded our space. You fired first. You thought we would break. His eyes darkened. You were wrong. Chorus' fists clenched. What do you want? Reynolds leaned forward slightly. To end this, without unnecessary bloodshed. Chorus bared his sharp teeth. You dare speak of mercy after destroying my fleet. Reynolds sighed. If we wanted you dead. Admiral, you'd be dead. He paused. Your entire dominion would be gone. Silence. The words were not a threat. They were a fact. Chorus felt it. The weight of the truth pressing down on him. The Dominion had been fighting an enemy they didn't understand. An enemy that had surpassed them. And now, the humans were offering them a way out. Vexus whispered, Admiral, we cannot win. Chorus' mind raced. His pride screamed to keep fighting. To die with honor. But was there honor in suicide? Reynolds spoke again, breaking the silence. Your fleet is finished. But your people don't have to be. Chorus looked at the burning wreckage of his once mighty armada. The human fleet was waiting, not attacking. They were giving him a choice between survival or extinction. His voice was low, defeated. What are your terms? Reynolds gave a small nod. Now we're talking. Admiral Chorus had never felt this kind of silence before. The bridge of the Doombringer, once filled with confidence and control, was now frozen in quiet terror. His officers, his warriors, the proud soldiers of the Exhilarating Dominion, defeated. And the humans hadn't even broken a sweat. On the screen, Captain Daniel Reynolds watched him with calm, steady eyes. Not mocking, not gloating, just waiting. Chorus' mind raced. If he surrendered, the Dominion would be humiliated. But if he fought? He looked at the wreckage of his fleet. The twisted remains of his warships floated in the void. The most advanced vessels in the Dominion, reduced to nothing in minutes. No, there was no fight left. And the humans knew it. Admiral, Reynolds said, breaking the silence. Let me make one thing clear. Chorus growled but said nothing. Reynolds leaned forward. This is not a war. It never was. Chorus narrowed his eyes. Then what do you call it? Reynolds exhaled. A message. The word sent a chill through the auxiliary officers. A message. Reynolds continued, his tone controlled. For centuries, the Dominion has conquered, enslaved, and crushed weaker civilizations. You never lost. You never even imagined you could. He tilted his head slightly. That ends today. Chorus' claws dug into the armrest of his chair. You think we will just kneel? Reynolds didn't flinch. No, we expect you to adapt. Chorus felt his blood boil. Adapt. The Xilari were rulers of the galaxy. They had built an empire through strength. And now, humans, these upstarts, these lesser creatures, were telling them to change. It was unthinkable. Yet, as he looked at the battlefield again, at the remains of his once invincible fleet, he realized something terrifying. The Dominion was already dead. Not by human weapons, not by invasion, but by arrogance. For centuries, they had refused to evolve, refused to believe anyone could surpass them. And now, they were paying the price. Commander Vexus turned to him, his voice hollow. Admiral, we don't have a choice. Chorus closed his eyes. His pride screamed at him to fight, to die as a warrior. But what would that accomplish? Nothing. He exhaled slowly. What, he said, his voice low, do you want from us? Reynolds didn't answer immediately. He let the silence stretch, making sure the weight of the moment settled. Then he said two words that no Xilari had ever expected to hear. A truce. The bridge of the Doombringer went dead silent. A truce. Chorus' eyes widened. You want peace. Reynolds nodded. Humanity doesn't need to rule the galaxy. We don't want to conquer. But we won't be prey either. His voice hardened. If the Dominion ever attacks again, we won't hold back next time. It wasn't a threat. It was a fact. Chorus sat back, his mind in chaos. He had expected a fight to the death, expected brutal demands, punishment, or destruction. Instead, the humans were offering something that Silari had never considered. Coexistence. Could they accept that? Could the Dominion survive without war? Chorus looked at his officers. These warriors had known only conquest. How could they live differently? And yet, what other choice did they have? His claws flexed. His pride ached. But for the first time, he saw the truth. The Dominion had reached its limit. If they wanted to survive, they would have to become something new. Slowly, painfully, he forced himself to say the words. The Dominion accepts. Reynolds gave a small nod, as if he had expected this all along. Good. The human fleet turned away, their weapons powering down. They were leaving. They had no interest in destroying the Exhilarating, only in ending the cycle of war. Chorus watched them go, his mind heavy with the weight of what had just happened. The Dominion had fallen, but maybe, just maybe, something stronger would rise in its place. The bridge of the Doombringer was deathly silent. Admiral Chorus sat motionless in his chair, his claws gripping the armrests so tightly that they nearly cracked. The word still echoed in his mind. Truce. Humanity had offered mercy. Not subjugation. Not destruction. A choice. And he had accepted it. He could feel the weight of his officers' stares. Some were in shock. Others, like Commander Vexus, looked disgusted. Exhilarating does not surrender. And yet, today, they had. Chorus exhaled sharply, pushing down the fire of his wounded pride. He had spent his entire life believing in the absolute power of the Dominion, that the Exhilarating were destined to rule, that war was the only way forward. But the battlefield before him told a different story. What once was the most powerful fleet in the galaxy was now wreckage drifting in space. Their greatest weapons had been useless. Their might had been meaningless. And the humans had left without firing a final shot. They had nothing to prove. That, more than anything, made Chorus' blood run cold. Because it meant one thing. They never saw us as a threat. The whispers of rebellion. Chorus turned to his officers, expecting to see relief, perhaps even understanding. Instead, he saw something worse. Doubt. Commander Vexus stepped forward, his reptilian eyes burning with barely contained rage. Admiral, tell me this is a deception. Tell me we are not truly kneeling before them. Chorus' jaw tightened. We are ensuring the survival of the Dominion. Vexus bared his sharp teeth. At what cost? His voice was rising now. The humans just humiliated us. They have proven that we are weak. And you accepted their mercy. Chorus stood, his towering frame casting a shadow over the bridge. I accepted reality. Vexus didn't back down. The Exhilarating do not bow. Chorus narrowed his eyes. The Exhilarating adapt. The silence between them was tense, thick with unspoken conflict. But then something shifted in Vexus' expression. His anger did not fade, but it became controlled, calculated. Chorus didn't like it. Vexus turned away, his claws twitching as he addressed the remaining officers. You heard the Admiral, he said, his voice lower now. The Dominion is changing. He glanced back at Chorus, his gaze filled with something dangerous. Not all of us agree. Chorus realized then. This battle might have ended. But a new war was already beginning. Admiral Chorus stood in his private chambers, staring out at the endless void of space. The wreckage of his once mighty fleet drifted silently, a graveyard of Exhilarating pride. He had made the only logical choice. And yet, doubt gnawed at him like a parasite. The humans had shattered everything the Dominion believed in. Its power, its superiority, its right to rule. For centuries, the Exhilarating had conquered and crushed without hesitation. Now, for the first time, they had been the ones crushed. A soft chime interrupted his thoughts. "Enter," he growled. The doors slid open, and Commander Vexus stepped inside. Chorus clenched his jaw. He had seen the way Vexus looked at him on the bridge. The younger officer had always been ambitious, but now there was something else in his eyes, something far more dangerous. Defiance. Vexus walked forward, stopping just short of the Admiral's desk. He clasped his hands behind his back, his face carefully neutral. "You have shamed us, Admiral," he said finally. Chorus exhaled slowly, turning to face him. "I saved us." Vexus let out a short, bitter laugh. "Saved us? From what? Defeat? Death? At least that would have been honorable." Chorus' eyes darkened. "Honor does not matter if the Dominion no longer exists." Vexus' expression hardened. "You think the humans will let us live in peace, that they won't use our weakness to control us." He leaned forward. "They humiliated us today, and they will come back. When they do, they will demand more. More concessions, more obedience. And what will you do then, Admiral?" Chorus studied him. "You believe we should fight them again." "I believe the Dominion should remain exhilarating," Vexus hissed, "not some weak, broken shadow of itself." Chorus felt a cold certainty settle in his gut. This was not just anger. This was treason. "You are not the only one who thinks this way, are you?" Chorus said quietly. Vexus didn't deny it. He only smiled. "Loyalty is earned, Admiral. And right now, many believe you have lost the right to lead." Chorus' claws twitched at his side. He could kill Vexus now, end the rebellion before it started. But that would be a mistake. If Vexus was speaking this boldly, it meant he had support. Others, officers, commanders, perhaps even entire fleets, were already preparing to rise against him. This was no longer just a surrender. It was the beginning of a civil war. Vexus took a step back, his smirk unwavering. "You have a choice, Admiral. Stand with us, or be swept away with the rest of the old ways." He turned and left, the doors hissing shut behind him. Chorus clenched his fists. The humans had won the battle. But the real war was just beginning. Admiral Chorus stood on the bridge of the Doombringer, staring at the vastness of space. His reflection in the viewport looked different, older, worn. The battle with the humans had ended. The war should have ended, but it hadn't. The rebellion begins. The exhilarating Dominion was fracturing. Vexus had disappeared after their last conversation, but his influence had not. Whispers spread through the ranks. Fleets had gone dark, refusing to follow orders. There were reports of exhilarating warships regrouping at hidden bases, forming a resistance. And now, Chorus had confirmation. "Admiral," a comms officer said, voice tense, "we've intercepted an encrypted transmission. It's from Vexus." Chorus turned sharply. "Play it." The main screen flickered. Vexus' face appeared, his expression cold, determined. "People of the Dominion, the time has come to correct our greatest shame. We were not defeated by the humans. We were betrayed from within. Our so-called leaders surrendered without a fight. But we will not kneel. We will not forget who we are. The true Dominion rises again." The transmission cut out. Silence fell over the bridge. Chorus' claws dug into the armrest. "The final choice, Admiral," his second-in-command said cautiously. "Half the fleet has already deserted. Vexus is rallying them. If we don't act now, the Dominion will collapse completely." Chorus already knew that. And yet what choice did he have? The humans had proven their strength. Another war would mean extinction. But the rebels saw peace as weakness. They wouldn't listen. They would fight. Which meant Chorus had to decide. Crush the rebellion and force the Dominion to evolve. Or join them and take one final shot at war. He closed his eyes. He already knew the answer. Chorus stood tall, his voice steady. "Prepare the fleet." "Sir." Chorus exhaled. "Vexus wants to fight. Then we give him one." A different kind of war had begun. Not against the humans, not against an enemy from another world, but a war for the soul of the Exhilarating themselves. The Dominion would change, one way or another.